Pacing feels like movement. When my mind is so active and I can't find a way to slow it down, movement has always been the answer. So I pace, I pace, I pace. What I've also learned is that the reason movement is so important to me is that it's always been a place of safety, a refuge. When I can't quite process what's going on, movement has been there for me. You're just going to have to deal with the pacing for a moment. When I was young, I didn't really know how to process emotions. So what I would do is I would go run. I would go train. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So my whole dream was my first love. And I would just run and run and run. Well, at a certain point, that much movement, you can make something happen for yourself when you move that much. And I think I learned a lot about physique and fitness and health. And yesterday we talked about stamina and how important that is. And I think as I go about this process of, moving when I can't quite get my thoughts to anchor down, as I learn about it, oh, hello, there you are. As I learn about it, more and more, I get to a place where I'm understanding the importance of movement. Movement is not just for the body, right? It's not just for like, well, I want to be in shape, so I need to move. Movement is way more important than that. To me, movement is like a sacred representation of how much we care about ourselves. Like, I've got a body, you've got a body, assuming you got a body. And in order to play the long game, in order to show up, in order to create the life that I want and surely the life that you want, this thing has got to be able to go. And I think that sometimes we get stuck in one of two modalities. We get stuck in the mental, emotional space where like we just can't process it. Sometimes we get stuck in the physical space where we just can't seem to mobilize or we just can't seem to get it out or vocalize it. I learned this the hard way. But as I'm pacing tonight, I'm like, all right, I'm moving, I'm moving, I'm moving. What is it about movement that feels really good? And here's what I've kind of discovered just within myself talking through it with you. Movement has always been the answer when I can't even tell what the question is. I know that don't make a lot of sense, but here's what I mean. When I have a question about life or what to do or how to handle a situation, how to respond to something that feels like a cross, or how to navigate something that is a violation of a boundary or a principle that I live by, I'm not always sure how to start the question or what to ask. But movement has always been the answer. So I don't even need to know the question almost. So I'll go for a run. I'll go for a run in the middle of the summer here in Arizona. And nobody's outside in the middle of the summer in Arizona. And I'll go for a run. And on that run, I'll just process. It's not like I'm thinking, I'm listening to music well, I'm typically listening to music. Let's be very honest. I'm not listening to an audiobook while I'm running. But what I am doing is I'm like allowing my mind, my subconscious to get into some kind of activity. And this kinetic version of me has an interesting space. Like it's almost like when I'm running, it feels like time is going slower. Like even music sounds slower. And I don't know what it is about it. Maybe if you're a runner too, maybe that's what runner's high is. But there's always something like that feels different when I run. So I get moving and I process. I don't really, it's not a conscious thing. It's kind of happening while I run, but because I'm like just in pain because running in 111-degree weather is painful, I'm able to just let go of what's going on in my mind. And then when I come back, I tend to feel clear. I tend to feel like I have an answer to the question. So when I start to run, I will pose like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I wonder what to do. And then I'll go into a run and I'll come back. And most times I have at least, oh my goodness, I at least have some kind of idea of what to do. I think that this conversation of longevity that people are having is almost funny Like everyone is like, humans are going to live to be 150. And Dave Asprey has become an experimental scapegoat for so many different drugs and surgeries and things. And like, cool, great. How do you know you'll live to be that long? None of us really know. What I do know is that in the next like 3 months, 9 months, 2 years, that's when the physicality piece matters. Because beyond that, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But in like a 2 year, 3 year span, certainly in the field of vision that I believe most people have, I don't think people can have a 5 year vision. Way too much changes in 3 years, let alone 5. So everything I do, everything we do here, Get Out of Your Own Way, is a 3 year vision. Anyway, within 3 years, you can probably tell me what you want your physique to be. Are you moving a lot? Are you able-bodied? Are you stretching? Are you limber? Can you wrestle with your kids? Can you sprint? Can you play a sport? Like, what does it look like for you at a certain point? Do you understand what that looks like? This idea of movement to me is also then, if I'm able to move in 3 years, in 10 years, right? I can't see that far, but I imagine I'll be able to move in 10 years. I'd be grateful to be able to move the way I move now in 10 years. If I can move like that, then I can still solve big problems. So what ends up happening is we connect the mind with the body. Movement is the celebration of the body, in my opinion. And the way in which you can continually grow and expand physically is to move more. The more you move, the more that you are able to move. It's simple, really. The more you move, the more you can move. Well, the more you think and solve problems, the more you can think and solve problems. It's not very complicated. I just think that we're not paying attention. I think that you might not be paying attention, which is why I'm telling you about this. What has made the biggest difference in my life, and there are plenty of people wealthier than I, there are plenty of people poorer than I just feel fulfilled and convicted about my mission, about what I'm doing, and about why I'm doing it. I think I have a way of life that is sound and principled and stress tested. But it requires both the mind and the body to be active. You can take your examples from anybody, but my opinion is that when the mind is active, the body is active. When the body is active, the mind is active. And these two things go back and forth. If you can't solve the problem with your mind, move. If you can't move your way into an opportunity, into a window, into chance, into good luck, then sit and think. This process has been what I've done for 20 years. And I didn't know that, obviously. Like, maybe that's not obvious. 20 years ago, I was not thinking down this thought path of like, well, I need to move because it's good for my body. I just wanted to play soccer. My favorite game, my first love. But now I recognize that movement is the solution. When I play sports, so I started playing volleyball again. I told you about that. When I started playing again, what I recognize is that even when I'm lifting, and I work out a lot, soon I'll do a video on the gym, but when I'm lifting, I am moving, yes. But when I'm playing a sport, I'm moving differently, right? The like energy is there, the like focus is there. Sometimes I can get distracted while I'm lifting. But in a sport, never. I'm like, I know how to zone in and just dial in real fast. And that's different because what ends up happening when I'm doing that is I'm moving more aggressively, more assertively, more definitively, and I feel less for the thinking. I usually come back from that feeling like my cup is full, like mentally I'm recharged. And that's sort of the answer to my own problems is, can I be mentally charged? Can I be mentally ready? Can I be mentally connected? And, I hope that for whatever you're doing, you're able to move. If you're not able to move, then let's figure out what we got to do to get you to move. I think the more you move, the more you think. The more you think, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the more of whatever it is you want, you get. Money, growth, expansion, friends, relationships, experiences, travel, all of it. The key is to stay in motion. That was an idea for a business I had a long time ago. Stay in motion. Well, it wasn't an idea. I launched a short series of workouts for soccer players called Stay in Motion. like hyper intense calisthenic workout. Stay in motion. Now it's a life philosophy of mine. I've turned almost everything into a business. Huh. These are weird. You ever had these? They're like sugar free, 1 gram of sugar, licorice. I don't know how I feel about it. Thanks for hanging on this long. I'll see you on the next one.